Okay, everybody, welcome back. Todd Vandermeide here for Freedom Steel. Another edition today, former NRA contract lobbyist, Illinois gun law guru, and it has been a busy 72 hours. So, let's back up a little bit to the tail end of last week, Friday. Friday afternoon, Judge St. Stephen McGlynn sat there and issued a preliminary injunction in the four consolidated cases in the Southern District. He did so. The state, so let's walk through this. The state, evidently, we kept them away from their Friday night dinner plans and their drink while we were all out celebrating. The state was out working on a motion for a stay and a motion for an appeal. At 11:45 p.m., the state filed a motion requesting the judge to stay, basically haranguing the judge and saying, "You got it wrong. The other two judges in the Northern District got it right." And then they filed a motion for an appeal or a notice of an appeal with the Seventh Circuit. That was Friday. So obviously we had Freedom Weekend with gun stores going crazy and people flocking to the stores to stock up on magazines and guns they wanted and the like. Monday morning, as we thought, the state is back at it again. So Monday, what we have is Judge St. Stephen sat there and issued a reply or an order saying that our side had until May 8th in order to respond to the state's request for a stay. Our lawyers had been anticipating this. We're working through part of the weekend, and they continued to work on things through the last 48 hours, dealing with all of that. Also on Monday, in the Naperville case, the justice who handles the Seventh Circuit, Amy Coney Barrett, who came out of the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, issued an order asking for a response on the emergency appeal filed by Law Weapons, asking the city of Naperville for a response. Interesting. She gave the city of Naperville till May 8th at noon to respond as to their position on this issue. Very interesting. And then yesterday, we received the notice, a more formal filing, that the state was not only going to seek an appeal of the injunction, but they were going to try and get an emergency stay from the Court of Appeals. So they have filed a 54-page brief, essentially re-arguing New York and the case in front of Judge McGlynn. Now, this becomes very interesting because they are jumping ahead of St. Stephen and his opportunity to rule. I have been joking out there that, the state raises some important issues that need to be debated. Therefore, we should have a full briefing schedule and full oral arguments, as they always like to drag things out on our end. Or just maybe St. Stephen could take as long as the state has been taking to grant his carry permit, which he applied for last September. And, turnaround's fair play, I guess. State doesn't like that. The state is wetting its pants. The state is terrified of going up on a record that was developed within the four cases in Southern Illinois. We have a much stronger record than the other cases do. And with that, going up on a loss as opposed and being on defense in our case as opposed to. So lawyers on our side are talking about Rule 8, and not being a lawyer, I don't understand all of it, but basically it's procedural, and they don't think the cause under Rule 8 for this emergency stuff when St. Stephen has not even ruled on his own their request for a stay in front of his own injunction is just putting the cart before the horse. So there are all these moving pieces, adding to the complication of the bingo scorecard. If you look at the Seventh Circuit's Court of Appeals page, it announces that they are on recess until May 17th. So will they pull a judge in to hear an emergency motion? We are going to have to respond to this emergency motion. So we have two responses that we now have to work on. We have to work on the one to Judge St. Stephen, and then we have to work on one to the bullshit 54-page motion that they have filed at the Court of Appeals. So this is where this stuff gets expensive because the state is playing with our money. They are playing with our taxpayer money. They have unlimited resources at, and they are turning around and they force us to pay more to our lawyers to get more stuff done. And that's what we have. It costs us. Now, hopefully, we prevail at the long end of this case and we get to get all of our attorney's fees back from the state, and they have to write some big fat checks to our side to help fund these kind of things and all that stuff. So we shall see. But that is what has been going on since Friday afternoon, it being, a little after 9 o'clock Wednesday morning. So there's a whole host of stuff. We do not know how soon the Court of Appeals will take this up. However, we anticipate getting a chance to respond to that. I would note that if you look at the Beavis record on the Court of Appeals, off the top of my head, I believe they filed their notice of appeal for the denial of their injunction sometime around February 23rd, and it took some time to April for the court to actually go through all that stuff. It would be nice if we had a couple of months of Freedom Week or whatever here with the gun stores and everybody getting back to normal on some things. The lawyers that I'm talking to, even outside of our case, are scratching their head on this motion and this Rule 8 thing. They think the state is possibly ripe to get slapped down for violating certain civil procedures and certain norms within the court. And they say this just smells of desperation. So that is the long and short of it. I will try to put some links below. As always, guys, this costs money. It is costing us more money now that we have 2 additional sets of briefs that we have to prepare. So please, links below for the Second Amendment Defense and Education Committee. Please go ahead and donate to that as generously as you can. We have that. We have the Second Amendment Law Center, which they do some phenomenal work. And they've now asked me to sit down as vice president to the Second Amendment Law Center to help facilitate amici briefs and other things and various actions around the country. So you'll be seeing more out of those guys. This is where we want to take the fight to the other side. And if you listen to any of my videos, you know we have a different way of looking at it here at Freedom Steel. We get down into some of the weeds, and stuff just keeps piling up on the desk for the stack of stuff to do some more videos. The problem is, no sooner do we get something that we're working on, and there's breaking news. So stay here. We'll keep you informed on all the developments. May 8th is going to be an interesting day for filings, and then we'll see how soon they get to some of the stuff. We'll have to... there's a lot of moving pieces here. So with that, as always, thank you very much. You've pushed us ever so close to the 8,000 subscribers mark. We're teetering on getting there. We really, really appreciate all the support we get out there. And as always, frag out.